महाभारतम् धर्म अधर्म संघर्षणम्.
The first to be born in this universe was Pitamaha. He is also called Brahma, Daksha and Prajapati. Aditi was Daksha's daughter. Kashyapa was her husband. Kashyapa had other wives, namely Diti, Danu, Vinata and Kadru. Aditi gave birth to 12 sons named Dhatru, Mitra, Shukra, Aryama, Varuna, Amsha, Bhaga, Vaivashvata, Pusha, Savitru, Twashta and Vishnu. Because they were the sons of Aditi, they came to be known as Aditya also. Diti gave birth to Daityas like Hiranyaksha and Hiranyakashipu. Danu gave birth to Danavas like Narakasura and Banasura. Vinata gave birth to Garuda, Aruna and other Vainateyas. Kadru gave birth to Kadraveyas, serpents like Ananta, Vasuki and Takshaka. Since he was thus responsible for the birth of many sons, Kashyapa came to be called Prajapati and Pitamaha, meaning father of mankind. Vaivashvata, one of the 12 Adityas, was the sun or Surya. His son was Manu. Because he was the son of Vaivashvata, he came to be known as Vaivashvata Manu. He is ruling over the entire world now, and so our epoch is called Vaivashvata Manvantara. Ila was the daughter of Manu. Her son was Pururava, and Pururava's son was Ayusha. His son was the righteous Yayati. Yayati had 2 wives, Devayani and Sharmishte. Devayani gave birth to a son, Yadu. Yadu's sons became celebrated as the Yadavas. Sharmishta, the other wife of Yayati, gave birth to a son, namely Puru. His sons are the great Pauravas. Dushyanta was a renowned sovereign in the Paurava dynasty. He had mastered the use of many weapons. He was as radiant as the sun. He had conquered many kingdoms, including those along the sea coast also. His kingdom extended right up to the kingdom of the Yavanas. It was a vast empire over which Dushyanta ruled righteously. Once, Dushyanta set out on a hunt with his army. The army consisted of 4 wings, the wing of elephants, that of horses, another of chariots, and the last of foot soldiers. The forest was filled with the sounds of the army, the sound of conches, the neighing of horses, and the sounds of the wheels of chariots. At the sight of this huge army, the animals of the forest ran helter-skelter. Birds flew high in panic. The powerful Dushyanta killed many lions, tigers, leopards, and other wild animals. No creature at which he aimed his arrow could escape. So unerring was his marksmanship. The ashram of a sage was situated there. It was the hermitage of the great sage Kanva. The king was delighted with the serenity which ruled there. The gentle flow of river Malini nearby refreshed the king. Gazing upon the trees heavily laden with flowers and fruits and listening to the melodious cuckoos, Dushyanta walked on. Even animals like the tiger, the lion and the serpent had renounced their cruelty there and lived in harmony. The sight amazed the king. He felt the overpowering influence of sage Kanva. Kanva belonged to the dynasty of Gautama. He was a great sage and a great Kulapati. When Dushyanta entered the ashram, The disciples were reciting the Vedas with the right enunciation and modulation. Yajurvedis were performing sacrifices. Some were singing the hymns of Samaveda melodiously. Several teachers were studying the Atharva Veda. Education, prosody, and grammar were also being taught. His eyes and ears delighted with these sights and recitations. Dushyanta entered the ashrama. Kanva was away from the ashram at the time. His foster daughter, Shakuntala, welcomed the king and extended all hospitality to him. Her loveliness amazed Dushyanta. He received her hospitality. He made inquiries about the welfare of sage Kanva and the inmates of the ashram. He then said, "Lovely woman, who are you? What are you doing in the ashram? How is sage Kanva related to you?" She replied, "Maharaja, my name is Shakuntala. I am the daughter of Menaka and Vishwamitra. As soon as I was born, Menaka went away to the realm of Lord Indra. Vishwamitra retired to perform tapas. I was lying in the forest, an orphan. Shakuntas, that is, birds, fed me and looked after me. Sage Kanva, who happened to come that way, brought me here and brought me up. Shakuntas had rescued me, and so he called me Shakuntala." Shakuntala's words delighted Dushyanta. He knew that Vishwamitra was once a Kshatriya king known as Kaushika. As the daughter of a king, Shakuntala was a princess. Dushyanta thought that he would be fortunate if the daughter of so great a person as Vishwamitra became his wife. He said to her, "Shakuntala, I wish to marry you. Will you consent?" Shakuntala also had fallen in love with him. She thought she would be fortunate to marry Dushyanta. She asked him, "What shall we do? Sage Kanva is not in the ashram. How can we get married in his absence?" Dushyanta replied, "Shakuntala, ours will be a proper marriage. You are a princess and I am a king. Sage Kanva will surely approve. Therefore, marry me without any apprehension." She consented. Dushyanta married Shakuntala in the Kanva ashrama itself, according to the Gandharva mode. Then Dushyanta said to Shakuntala, "I shall go to the capital and send my ministers, priests, and a splendid chariot to bring you to the palace." He then returned to the capital. Kanva returned to the hermitage a few days later. Shakuntala did not know how to tell him that she was married. Nervous and shy, she did not come out to welcome him. Her friends informed Kanva of what had happened. Kanva sent for Shakuntala and said to her, "My child, you need feel no embarrassment. I am glad that Dushyanta married you. May you be fortunate in every way." Shakuntala was overjoyed. In course of time, Shakuntala gave birth to a son. He was charming and radiant. He grew up like the moon in the brighter half of the month. Even as a child, he used to kill lions. He would tie up tigers, leopards, and bisons. He would carry the young ones of wild animals and tease them. He would ride on lions and tigers. As he would subdue all wild animals, the residents of the hermitage gave him the name of Sarvadamana, he who subdues all creatures. Dushyanta, who returned to the capital, did not send for Shakuntala, although many months passed. He had promised to send his minister and priest to escort her. Shakuntala waited in hopeful expectation day after day, but Dushyanta's messengers did not arrive. Once he returned to the capital, Dushyanta became immersed in the state's affairs. He completely forgot all about Shakuntala. "Shakuntala, living in the ashram, grew apprehensive. She was on tenterhooks to go to her husband's house. She was restless. She was eager to show Sarvadamana's strength, his learning, and his play to her husband and rejoice. But there was no word from Dushyanta, and she was troubled. She feared that he had forgotten her. Kanva understood her plight. He comforted her. He then called his disciples and said to them, "Sons of sages, it is time for Shakuntala to go to her husband's house. Accompany Shakuntala and Sarvadamana to Dushyanta's court. Convey my blessings to the king. Leave Shakuntala in his care and return." Shakuntala set out for the capital with Sarvadamana and the disciples. Her heart grew heavy when she had to depart from Kanvashrama. He had brought her up as his own daughter. She was very sad to leave of the animals she had brought up and the plants she had planted and watered. With tears streaming from her eyes, she touched Kanva's feet, received his blessings, and set out. Sarvadamana went with her, with 2 lion cubs under his armpits. They all reached Dushyanta's city. They met the king in the crowded royal court. The disciples conveyed Kanva's blessings to Dushyanta and left Shakuntala and Sarvadamana in his protection. The moment he saw Shakuntala, Dushyanta recalled all that had happened, but he behaved as if he did not recognize them. He ignored Shakuntala completely. Shakuntala was frightened. She asked him, "Maharaja, why are you silent? Why do you not speak to me?" Dushyanta questioned her, "Who are you? Why have you come here?" Shakuntala felt as if a thunderbolt had struck her. She was wretched that her apprehensions had come true and the king had forgotten her. Shedding tears, Shakuntala said, "Maharaja, I am the foster daughter of sage Kanva and the daughter of Vishwamitra and Menaka. When you came to the forest to hunt, did you not come to our hermitage? Did you not marry me according to the Gandharva mode?" "Maharaja, look, this is Sarvadamana, your son. Does not the sight of your son make you rejoice?" Dushyanta said, "Who bears testimony to our marriage?" At once, a disembodied voice spoke from the skies like thunder. "King Dushyanta, all that Shakuntala has said is true. She is your wedded wife. The child by her side is your son. Accept them both and look after them lovingly." The courtiers who heard the voice said, "Maharaja, accept Shakuntala and Sarvadamana. There is no doubt that this lovely woman is your chaste wife. We are delighted to behold this boy, who is the very picture of yourself in handsomeness and prowess. You are truly fortunate." Dushyanta then said, "My people, your words make me happy. I recognized Shakuntala as soon as she entered the court. The features of this boy proclaimed that he was my son, but none of you had so far seen Shakuntala. Suppose I had accepted Shakuntala the moment she arrived, you would all have been surprised and disapproved my act. You would have thought, 'How is this? Some woman came up and claimed to be the king's wife, and our king accepted her as the queen?' That was why I behaved as if I did not recognize Shakuntala. I was certain that, if not now, at least later, Providence would unite us. Now you have yourselves heard the voice from the sky. You have asked me to accept Shakuntala and Sarvadamana. I shall abide by your counsel." He then turned to Shakuntala and said, "Shakuntala, do not mistake me, because I did not accept you at once. A king has to ensure that his conduct is beyond suspicion. He must show that he has not strayed into the oath of unrighteousness, and so I inflicted sorrow on you. Forgive me." Shakuntala rushed to him in joy and excitement and touched his feet. Dushyanta embraced his son. Dushyanta looked after his son lovingly after he heard the voice from the sky, and so the boy came to be called Bharata. Bhara means look after. In course of time, Dushyanta anointed Bharata as the Yuvaraja, heir apparent. Bharata was a warrior of formidable prowess. He overcame all the monarchs of the world and became an emperor. He performed many sacrifices, adhered to the path of Dharma, and won enduring fame. This Bharata gave his dynasty the name of Bharata Vamsha, and our country is called Bharata after him. His successors in his race are renowned as Bharatas. Their history is the Mahabharata.